Colour crazy today. What are we making? Stay tuned. To support my channel, please remember to tag me on your social media posts and share the video link too if you can. Instagram Crafty Kaz 33 and Facebook Kaz Harris. Join my Facebook group Crafty Kaz Collective. Thank you all so much. Diolch o galon. As you may know, I am Welsh born and bred, and my inspiration for this beautiful scarf has been taken from the fantastic Welsh blankets that have been made through the ages. And as you can see, the beautiful colour schemes here made up of 4 colours and 5 colours, and maybe looking at these will give you some inspiration for changing up the colours for your project. And the colour scheme for this project is going to be a beautiful red colour, this donut yarn, which is colour shade 112, storm blue in Stylecraft Special Aran, dark brown, again in Stylecraft Special Aran, and a beautiful copper shade, again in Stylecraft Special Aran. I am using Aran across the board for this project. You might get a different lighter feel if you use a DK, but that will be up to you. This is my colour scheme, so let's get cranking. For this project, I'm using a 46 pin circular knitting machine, but you can also use a 48 pin or a 40 pin, 32 or 22. That'll be up to you depending on the width of scarf you'd like to make. As well as the yarns that I've already shown you, you're going to need a small amount of waste yarn in order to cast on and cast off. When choosing your waste yarn, make sure that it's a good corresponding colour to the first yarn that you're going to use, and of course that's going to stand out a mile so that we can see the stitches in order to seal up. So we're going to cast on, as we normally do, over and under, all the way around the bed of the machine. And please excuse my fingers, everyone, I have been making onion relish and it has stained my fingers somewhat, and I'm not a kind of a gal to use nail varnish and that kind of thing. Not my style, each to their own. So here we go, that's cast on there. Oh, we caught a little bit. Let's take that out of there. Great. Back into the yarn feeder, and we're going to do 6 to 8 rounds is usually my go-to. I'll probably aim for about 8 here now. There we go, and I'm happy with that. I've done 8 rows. I'm going to trim my yarn off now, like that. Trim that short. And pop that tail into the centre of the machine, ready to start with our main yarn for our project. Before we start, we need to 0 our clock. I'm on 0, and I'm going to be starting with this lovely luscious plummy red colour that I used for the cowl. And if you've not seen the cowl, it's quite an adventurous project, but check out the link on the screen there. So change our colours, and we wrap it around the first pin like that. So now to change colours, wrap it around the first pin like that and let the tail drop down into the centre. Open up our yarn guide, yarn feeder, and pop the yarn in there ready to go. Hold those tails together so you get a nice little catch on that first needle there, and we can crank 3 rows. Just going to pull some yarn out of that, and I'm hand tensioning my work here just by leaving it run through my fingers as I'm cranking. Okay, so there's our 3 rows as quick as that. Trim about a 5-6 inch tail, and again let that go into the center of the machine. Now we need to change over to our other color, and I've not used this yarn before, so I'm not quite sure how it's going to work, but it was on offer and I can't resist a bargain. And change over. So we're going to do now another 3 rounds, and this is feeling a little bit thicker than an Aran. We shall see. So I'm going to put 1 knot in there. That's the way I do it. If you've got another way of changing colours, then you do it your way, and that's absolutely fine. And we're going to crank another 3 rounds. Oh, look at that yarn now. Look at that. It's got a ravel in it. Isn't that annoying? Right, let's see what we can do here then. Let's just get that to go through. Oh, that's awful. Look at that. That is just so shabby. Let's feed that under. Tell you what we're going to do. I'm going to loop that under there. I'm showing you warts and all. Look at that. Things that crop up when you're not expecting it. So I'm going to probably leave that there like that and tie it together later on. Hopefully you won't have that kind of a problem. That's really annoying. So 3 rows again, which will take you up to row 6. And I can't say I'm liking this yarn so far. 4, 5 and 6. And we're going to snip that yarn off there again. And what we're going to do is to continue swapping between the red and the yellow for 60 rows in total. Okay, so that's 10 lots of 3 and 3. So you carry on and do that now with your colour scheme, and if you're following my colour scheme, then you're going to change to this reddish colour and do another 3 rows. Okay, so I'm gonna tie mine together like that. We're gonna have a lot of tying to do at the end of the project before we assemble this lovely long scarf. So 3 rows, which takes us up to row 9. As quick as that. Snip a little tail, pop it into the centre, grab this very odd yellow, pop that in, and I was inspired by the red and yellow by my red and yellow beanie and ear warmer, so go and check that out. It'll be a link on the screen there for you. I do like the red and the yellow together, it's kind of zingy. So another 3 rows, which is going to take us up to row 12, and continue that now until you've got 60 rows, alternating 3 colours of the red, 3 colours of the yellow. Until you get to row 60, and I'll see you back very soon. So I'm on row 57. I'm just about to change to my final 3 rows, which is this lovely mustardy yellow colour. Crank forward a few, grab the correct tail and add a knot, and then do the final 3 rows for the first section of this beautiful scarf. There we are, row 60. Snip that off. And now we're going to change to this lovely blue Stylecraft Aran. And the colour, just to remind you, is Storm Blue, but it's like a bluey grey. It's absolutely beautiful. And what I'm going for here is a kind of a complementary colour. And what you'll find is that yellow and blue is a complementary colour, as in opposite sides of the colour spectrum, okay? So here we go. Now we are going to, you can either zero your clock or count as you go along. And we are going to do 50 rows now, which will take us up to row 110. So crank on now until you get to row 110 or row 50 if you prefer to zero your clock at every stage of the colour changes. And here we are, I'm just doing 107 on the row count here. And here's my last one, coming up to row 110. Here we go. Now then, all we need to do is to snip, ready for our next colour change. And don't forget, if you're working like this on a table without a hole in the centre, you need to reach in, grab your work, make it into a nice little donut in the centre, Okay, like that. You can also use, I've seen some people in the groups, which is a great idea by the way, of using like a pan lid in the center to weigh your work down here to try and prevent these drop stitches as you work, because the more you work the more chance you've got that. You can also use these clip-on weights, which I have with my flatbed knitting machines, and these are great. These are like claw weights. You can find them online, and they slip into your work like that. And what you need to do is get 4 of them and put them opposite sides of your work like that. And as you can see, they do pull the yarn, so you have to be a little careful with these claws, but they do work rather well at keeping the tension on your work as you go around. Okay, so next we're going to move on to the next set of colour changes, 2 colours. Our next colour combination is brown and red. 3 rows of brown, 3 rows of red, 460 rows in total. So we'll remove our previous blue yarn, add our brown in on needle 1, crank forward a few, tie together, stop it unravelling, and we're going to do 3 rows. Straighten my machine a tad, and 3 rows. Snip off, grab our red, and exactly the same, crank forward 1 or 2, tie those tails together, and knit 3. Done. Repeat that now, so you have 60 rows in total, alternating brown, red, brown, red, brown, red, and so on. I'm just going to change to my last 3 of the red to finish this section, which brings me up to row 170. Changing back to the red. And I don't have my machine fastened down with the usual clamps for this one, so you can get a better view of what I'm doing. And here we are, 3 rows now will bring us up to row 170. There we go, 170. So the next section is a plain section again. So the next section is going to be 50 rows, just the plain ordinary colour, and for mine it's this yellow colour. So change over, plain and simple, 50 rows. Tie together, 1 little knot, and then we'll secure those later. So we are headed now to row 220 with a plain colour, and mine is yellow. So I'll see you now when I get to row 220, and we'll run through the next section of a 2 colour combo. Don't forget, roll up your donut in the middle, okay, or use those weights or clamps or something to keep some tension on those stitches there. Okay, you can occasionally pull them down as well to make sure they don't jump off. The longer the tube you knit, the more chances I find of you getting a dropped stitch. Dreaded drop stitches. I'm just finishing up my final row, bringing me to row 220 in our solid colour here. I'm going to snip that off, and now we are going to move on to our next 2-tone section. I'll crank a little bit farther, so we'll just go up a little bit like that. Great stuff. And now we are going to be doing blue and brown the same way as we did before. We're going to be doing 3 rows of one and 3 rows of the other for 60 rows in total. So we're going to change to blue. Oh, yellow and blue together, absolutely superb. Tie a knot. 3 rows of the blue. Let's loosen some yarn off there. One, 2, and 3. Snip. Back to our delicious chocolatey brown colour. 3 rows of that. And what we'll do is we'll alternate the blue and the brown for 60 rows in total. Crank forward 1 or 2, lock that in place, tie a single knot, and we'll be tying our knots permanently when we're doing assembly. So 3 rows of brown. Again, I need to loosen some off. Always forget to do that. So that's 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows. So change back to blue or whatever colour combination you decide to do, and work now until you get to row 280 on your main counter there. Okay, and then we'll change back to another solid colour. I'm just working on my last row of our last 2 colour section, and we are now at row 280. So we're going to snip that off, and now we're going to move on to our next solid colour. And for me, I'm going back to that lovely wine red colour here. This is what I'm going to do next. And we are now going to do 50 rows in total. So our next colour change. Round the hook, through the yarn feeder, grab those 2 tails together and knit a few like that. I put a single knot in and we'll knot the rest later. And now we're going to crank 50 rows in total, which is going to bring us up to row 330. And we've only got 1 section left to go then, and we can cast off with waste yarn. So 50 rows now. And I love this colour combination, absolutely love this chocolate brown and this kind of a petrol blue, I think the colour is, a kind of, oh, absolutely stunning. So I'll meet you back now when we get to row 330, okay? And here we are on our very last row of our red, coming up to row 330. We're going to snip that off, and that's the last we need of the red. And now we're moving over to our last 2-tone colour swap over, and we're going to do 60 rows of that. And we are introducing a new colour to the scheme now, because this is a 5 colour scheme scarf. Okay, so we're going over now to this beautiful rust colour, which is copper. Special Aran by Stylecraft, and we're going back to this donut yellow, and we're going to combine these 2 now. So we are going to start off with the yellow, and as usual, like we've done with the other sections, we are doing 3 rows of one colour and 3 rows of our other colour for 60 rows. So out with the previous colour, in with the new, in through there like that. I like to go forward a couple of needles, knit a couple of needles, and tie with a single knot. There we go, and we will do a double knot on that later on. So we're going to do 3 rows now of yellow. 1, loosen some of this yarn off, because it's not the easiest thing to loosen yarn off this donut shape. I find it quite awkward, to be honest. 2, and 3, and I'll just demonstrate the 2 lots. I need to take the band off this one now and pop it on the floor. Pop it over there with my other bands. Find the end. Always wish I could find the centre pull, and I always find that very difficult to do. So if you've got any tips on finding the centre pull in a normal 100-gram ball of yarn, I'd be very grateful for that. There we go, swap over, tie together, push those tails down out of the way so they don't get caught. Another 3 rows. So loosen some yarn. One, 2, and 3, as quick as that. So just repeat that process now until you get to row 390, and we will cast off with waste yarn after that. So I'm on row 387. Yes, this is a very long scarf, and I'm doing my final 3 rows to get me to row 390. So I'm changing colours here as we have all the way around, knit in a couple and tie it, and then the last 3 rounds before we change over to our waste yarn, make sure those tails are out of the way and that you've made a donut in the centre there, which will help to weigh down your stitches on there if you're not using weights. Okay, so our final 3 rows, just free up some yarn here, make sure that's still in there because I tugged it a little. 1 and 2 and 3. There we go. So I'm going to chop a tail, pop that in there, and choose a contrasting yarn. So I've gone for like a pale colour here so we can see our stitches where we come to seal off these ends. So our final colour change, we don't need to knot this one, well I don't anyway, and I'm going to do about 8 rows, but you can do however many you want to. And I have the weights for each of the colours that you need in order to do this project to help you gauge how much of each colour you need. So I will let you know how many grams you need of each colour to do this project at the end of the video, and I'll also give you the row counts at the end of the video as well. And because I'm talking, I have no idea how many rows I've done, so I shall just keep cranking just for a little while. Oh, my row count is working, of course it is. I can use that, silly girl. There we go, 8 rows. So I'm going to snip my waste yarn. Here we are, snip my waste yarn. Project done. So 2 turns of the wheel and the work will fall off, and then we'll move on to sealing up those ends. And of course, if you know how to seal the ends of a tube, you could just go and seal the ends of the tube. Hallelujah, that's off. So I'll see you shortly for sealing up and the big reveal. Of course, the next step, which I nearly forgot, is we need to tie all our ends together. If I can find all my ends, down that nice line there. Okay, so open up your work, and we're going to open it inside out. Okay, and this is one heck of a long scarf, 390 rows. This is going to be really snuggly, and I hope this colour scheme looks as nice as it looked on paper when I worked it all out, and I thought, let's just do it and see what we get. So we got quite a lot of colour joints here, so whichever end you decide to start on, it's going to be a little bit of a laborious task. So go ahead now and do all your colour joins. We don't need to do the top one because that's a waste yarn, but there you go, there's your knot. I like to pull it kind of tight like that, but you can check the other side then to make sure what that looks like, but we've not stretched it yet, have we? So let's stretch that little section. and then make sure that we get a nice tight knot at that point, there, like that, and then a double knot, and then you can trim it to about 1 centimetre. So carry on and do that all the way down, and it is going to be a little laborious, I have to say. That's not going to be the best task in the world. A little bit tighter there, another knot, trim to about 1 centimetre, centimetre and a half, something like that, and just keep on going. Check the other side, and you can see by pulling it kind of tighter like that, it minimises the colour jog that you get. Okay, so do it a little bit tighter and double check the other side as you work to see that it does look good. And I'll see you very shortly when I've done all mine. The very last one in the length. It didn't take too long at all, probably about 10 minutes all in all. And I used yellow as my waste yarn, so I got to remember not to tie those last two together. So now this is done, we can turn it out the right way. So I'm going to pop my hand in all the way from one end to the other. It's like a big sausage. Right, all these, look at all the bits, look, all these lovely bits that can go for stuffing. Isn't that lovely? So I'm going to push them out of the way because they're going to get caught in my next step. There we go, that's my waste yarn. Great stuff. So there we go, we've got our hand coming through there. We've got a really long sleeve at the moment, and we're going to pull one end through the other end, and then we're going to check whether we've missed any ties. That's important. Oh, look at that, look at that. Oh, that's like caramel up there, isn't it? That's lovely. Remember, that's our seam, so that's going to go on the outer edge there, and we're going to run down and make sure there's our seam there, that we've caught all of those stitches and those colour joins, and we're not missing anything, and that's fine and dandy and looking great like that. Great stuff. So now we need to seal up the ends of both tubes there. Okay, and we're more or less done. So let's move on to that stage. The next step is to seal the ends of the tube. Okay, so this is my cast on edge, and I have put a stitch marker in each of the two stitches either side of the tail there. Okay, so you can see those there. So I've done that because they kind of get lost sometimes as you get to the end of joining this together. So those two stitches are going to join together, and then as you go up, you can see they kind of line up all the way down there like that. Okay, so that's the way it's going to work, and when we get to the end, we'll have two stitches there like that. So I've got my crochet hook, my darning needle ready to hide my tail, and my little scissors for snipping off. So what we're going to do is push our crochet hook, and this is a 4mm crochet hook, through those two stitches at the end. Okay, and we're going to pull one stitch through the other. That is it. And then we zigzag, we go to the bottom one, pull that one through, and I use both hands because I'm not very good without two hands doing this. And then to the top one, pull through, to the bottom one, pull through, to the top one, pull through. and go from the top to the bottom, all the way along until you get back to the tail. And then all you do is wrap the tail around and pull it through, pull it tight, and hide the tail. So I'll carry on and do this now. I'll fast forward through it, so you get the idea, and if you've done it before then you can just skip ahead and you know exactly where we are and what we're doing at this stage. But if you're new, this is how you do it, all the way down to the end, and I'll show you when we get to the tail what we do with the tail shortly, okay? So off we go. And here we are with our final 2 stitches. That's why we've got the stitch markers in there. It helps us not lose them. She says as she just loses it. I took it out too soon without grabbing it. Should have grabbed it and then taken the stitch marker out. Silly girl, silly girl. Where are you, Stitch? Don't hide on me now. There you are, you little tinker. Gotcha! So don't do what I do. Okay. So there we go. Right, I'm going to grab this little monkey first and pop him through there before I take the stitch marker out. There you go. Live and learn, live and learn. So that's our final 2 stitches. And once you get there, you can pop through, make sure and check there that you've got every stitch attached, and then wrap that tail around there and pull it through the loop, and that's your tube completely sealed off. All you need to do now is to remove your waste yarn, and I normally put a single row of a different yarn in between my waste yarn and my main piece of work when I cast on, but I forgot this time, and that is much easier then to remove your waste yarn. Other than that, you have to find that top row, take it out like I am here until you get back to the beginning, and then you can just unwind it. Nearly there. One last loop to do. And then we can just unwind it. And I like to keep my waste yarn, so I will roll it as I go. There we go. And if you unwrap it with your work, you won't get that tail caught up there like that. Wrap it around that tail. Oops. Wrap it around that tail. There we go. And I've got little yarn balls like this that I keep in a pot, some for 46 and 48 pin machines, and smaller balls then for 22 pin machines, which helps me I know that I've got 8 rows or 6 rows on that length of yarn, and you can reuse it and be frugal. So there's our waste yarn done. Keep that for another project. Now then, there's our lovely sealed and nice clean edge on our work. All we need to do is to bury the tail, and that's why we've got a darning needle ready here. So pop that on a darning needle, thread it down there like that, inside the work, inside the layers, all the way down as far as you can. I'm going to bring it out on a red section here. There we go. Pull that through. You can pull it all the way through if it'll go. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. If it's too long, you can snip it. There we go, it's a little bit too long. Snip that a bit. Once you've hidden that tail then, you're fine and dandy and the scarf is complete. So there's our scarf. We can stretch it out and make it look really nice. Make sure that all those stitches are looking their best. So give it a final stretch and a final little primp and make it look beautiful. And I think if you wore that out on a cold winter's day for a walk, I got a funny feeling you're gonna get a few compliments on that. Look at that for a scarf. The colours are absolutely divine. I absolutely love it. And if you do love it too, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. It's free to do so, doesn't cost you a penny, and you can keep up with all my makes and my designs and things that I share with you that you can make on circular knitting machines. Don't forget there's the Crafty Kaz collective group for Addi Sentro and all circular knitting machines, flatbed knitting machines and things like that. So please join that, and you can share your makes with the gang. So let's give you the measurements of this beautiful scarf. And using my yarn, approximately 7 inches wide or 17.5 centimeters. And lengthwise, bear with me. Let's have a look, see what we've got here. Bearing in mind this scarf is 390 rows in total. So we're talking a very long, nice wraparound scarf here. You can probably wrap it around your neck once or twice. And already we're up to 51. Crikey, 60 to that join there. 60 to about there. So that's 70.5 inches long. Wow, crikey, what's 70.5 inches long in centimeters? That's 27. And the full length, do my terrible maths now here, okay? So we've got 152 and 27, which is 179 centimeters if my mental mathematician, if my mental arithmetic is correct. So there we go, that's the lengths we've got. That's a really, really long wraparound, beautiful, stripy and block scarf. An idea for optional things which has just come to me. I like this kind of flat. I'm going to leave mine flat. But of course you can add tassels on the end if you want to. You can crochet an edge if you want to. So if you check out my drop stitch scarf pattern tutorial, you'll see that I've put tassels on that one. So if you pop in and check that out, you can see how, if you don't know already, that is, how to attach some matching tassels to the bottom of that. And you could go with any colour you want. You could mix up your colours if you wanted to and have all sorts of colours of tassels on the end of your scarf. That would be up to you, but I'm leaving mine plain. I will see you very, very soon. Thank you for joining me. Much, much appreciated. And if this is also of use to you and you're going to make to sell, if you'd like to make a donation to a local animal shelter, no kill, that would be absolutely awesome. That would really, really mean the world to me. As you know, I love my dogs. I rescue dogs and all sorts of animals. We've had many, many animals over the years and they've all been absolutely beautiful. So as beautiful as you are, thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you very, very soon. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now. Hwyl fawr.